Hello and welcome to another episode of Fight on Montana. I am your host, Adam Healy, with my co-host, Angel Villanueva.
What's up?
We are here to take a deep dive into Grizzly athletics. I like to remind the listener to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts at. You can find us pretty much everywhere. We'd like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to get you to get in a hold of us, and so you can do that three ways: Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook page. All those are at Fight on Montana. We want to hear from you. This is your podcast. We want to make it for the fan. So if you guys want to hear something that you're not hearing, let us know. We'll get it right so that you guys are loving it, and let people know about us. So, Angel. Dude,
what's up, man?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we can say game day.
Then we can say game day. What has it been? 18 months at this point?
Oh, dude, yeah, long time.
Oh my goodness! And I'm wearing the ripped sleeves. If you guys are watching this live, you guys are able to see me right now. I ripped off the sleeves because I'm not excited. You're not a true fan unless you have, a sweatshirt, a cut off sleeve that you could bring to the games. So I'm gonna keep my eye out this weekend. Keep my eye out on all you guys. I
tried to rip the sleeves, I just couldn't get them off. And my arms are way too white. I didn't want them. Yeah, I didn't want to blind the listener or possibly the three people right now that are watching us. So I didn't want to blind anybody. But
you're crazy, man. You're crazy, man. Let's go, man. Game week. Let's do it.
We are going to go over position groups: wide receiver, cornerback, kicker, and punter today. So
yeah,
we've got. Let's start at wide receiver, just because that's probably one of the most talked about groups right now. Probably one of the deeper position groups as well. If not, if you look at probably offensive line, one of the deeper positions that we have right now. So what did we lose? Well, unfortunately, I was crossing my fingers that we wouldn't lose Samori Toure. We lost him. Congratulations to him if he's listening right now. Totally show out in Nebraska. We're cheering for you, man. And so as far as I know, that's the only wide receiver that we've lost. So let's just go down the list and see what we have. We have Samuel Kim coming back, senior. Malik Flowers coming off of a amazing sophomore season where I believe he got like either first team or second team special teams. Mitch Roberts, redshirt junior. Danny Burton, senior. Max Gardner, who is a junior. And I believe he walked on because he was playing the first 2 years. I think he was playing baseball, I believe, somewhere.
I think so too. Yeah, I think you're right.
Gabe Solser, junior. And I'm going to mess up this name. Guido Acello.
That's a dope ass name, man. Guido.
I think Guido.
Yo, Guido. Yeah, no,
you're right. Guido? Is that like
think about that, dude? Like the parents are like, what are you gonna name him? You're like, I'm gonna name him Guido. He's gonna be a receiver at the University of Montana, man.
Yeah.
What a story, dude. Oh my gosh.
They just call him G. Like
I call him G.
Or G-O. You can call him Go. You can call him Go.
One or the other, man. Guido is cool as Guido it is.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Drew Deck, who's a freshman. Aaron Fontes, who's a freshman. Kellen White, who is a redshirt freshman. Ryan Simpson, who is a redshirt freshman. And then in the summer, we'll have one more wide receiver coming in, TJ Roush from, I believe, Missoula Sentinel as well. So that is the wide receiver group. A lot of names there that are pretty well-known names.
Yep.
Samuel Kim is probably the most well-known big wide receiver. I think if you listen to our podcast earlier this week, we talked about him wearing 3 to 5X gloves, which I'm still thinking that, and I can't get that out of my head, dude.
My gosh. And the only reason I knew that is because one day I was picking up a pair of gloves from the equipment room, and I was getting a 2X, and there was a pair of 5X, and I thought they put it out as a joke. And I was like, who the hell's wearing 5X gloves? I was like, oh, those are Sammy's. he has humongous hands for whatever reason. And so
Jeez.
it just, I mean, you just think about what you want in a prototype receiver, and Sammy checks it off, though. Check
Oh,
everything on that list. He's humongous, 6'4", 6'5", athletic. He's committed. He's a hard worker. You know, just being around him at times I'd get frustrated throughout the year because he was always on go, you know?
yeah.
And in the moment, it's one of those things that you'd get kind of annoyed of it just because you keep hearing, come on, guys, come on, guys, come on, guys. But it really elevated the team to another level because he's so passionate about the sport. He's so committed to being better than he was the day before. It's pretty interesting to kind of see, you know, him being in the position that he is because he's earned everything, you know.
Yeah.
None of the, I mean, obviously when you think about a prototypical receiver, he has those qualities, but he's not letting those go to waste. He's taking advantage of the concept of hard work, the concept of laying that foundation and sacrificing on the weekends. He's one of the most dedicated football players that I've been around in my 5+ years here at the university. And I've seen some amazing players. You know, thinking about to my early days where Ellis Henderson was playing, where Jamal Jones was playing, you know. Right before that, we had a running back kind of receiver hybrid in Juice. I forgot his full name, but he ended up playing for the CFL.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate to be around some great players, and I think it's kind of cool to really be able to say, you know, that he's one of the most committed guys. And I feel the same way about Samori. When you think about Samori as a student athlete, he's everything that embodies it. You know, he committed himself to the books. Every time I was told, you know, I'd ask him after tests on the university, I say, hey, man, how'd you do on the test? He'd be like, man, I got a 93%, not good enough. You know, he was just that type of person, that type of player. He always wanted to be the best, and he was super humble about it. He was never bragged about it, and he was one of the most humble people. So shout out to Samori. I wish nothing but the best for you. I love you, man. You know I'm here for you. Same thing with Sammy. I can't wait to see you kind of continue to develop and what you're able to do this upcoming year. Kind of going down the list, like you said, you mentioned a lot of names. Malik Flowers, he's actually a personal good friend of mine, so he's a little punk sometimes, man. But that guy is incredible, man. Just to see him be so humble throughout this journey, throughout this process, you know. And I'm sure there might have been at times, you know, looking back on it, where he was just like, man, I want to play more. You know, but he filled those roles on special teams. He filled that role as a backup, and he did it beautifully. And now he's at a position where he's like, hey, man, you're up. Let's see what you can do. You know, coming up.
And just with like the group that we have a really good group of veteran and then young talent that from the, I listened to the coach's show, and Hauke's basically gave his depth chart. And so, you know, Akem is going to be a starter. And, you know, he says, you know, on the other side, it's Roberts and Flowers battling it out. And, you know, I think the slot, you're going to have Sulcer and White, which I've heard really great things about Kellen White and just the work ethic and where he's come from with a walk-on and a community. I think he was a community college and just a walk-on and I believe isn't he from Canada?
He is.
So
is an incredible athlete. I remember, obviously, when guys get to university, there's not very many guys that really can stand out, you know, even though they're playing scout team. But that guy showed out, and instantly I was like, man, this guy's gonna get put on scholarship real quick. This guy's gonna play real quick. You know, it kind of reminds me of Judy from Alabama, Jerry Judy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is, just the, you know, little quick twitch moves that he has, man. The way he's able to put on a dime, dude. I think he's gonna show out. And you know what? That was actually one of the things that I kind of want to talk about. I think when it comes to these receivers, I think Sammy's gonna be Sammy. Consistently, he's made those plays. I think when Luke's gonna finally get an opportunity to kind of really show out. Obviously, Mitch Roberts. I've been fortunate enough to play with his older brother and Mitch as well.
Really,
and his older brother was a freak of nature, just like Mitch is. You know, and the thing is, his older brother had only 2-3 months of football experience outside of high school football. He played baseball. I forgot the university to play that, but he had potential to be drafted when he was in high school. Didn't take it. I think he went to go and play on college ball. don't quote me on this, but I think he might have hurt his elbow or something like that. So he got to a point where he transitioned over to football for his last year, and he shined out here. And it's kind of cool to see, hey, you know what? I've seen the older brother and I see the younger brother, and they're both such great dudes that are going to be able to contribute to, winning some football games. So, and then when he comes down to Keelan, I think really Keelan's going to bring the breakout star of this kind of receiver group. I think obviously everybody's intention is on Sammy. Everybody's attention, is on Mitch, is on Malik. And so that's going to give Keelan an opportunity to really kind of branch out.
Well, and if he, it's a huge spot to fill that kind of, I wouldn't say a slot per se, but they use it as kind of a slot receiver that, Jerry Lou McGee had for forever. But if you put White there, just with his quickness and his just like quick cut, man, I think he could have an amazing year. I think one guy that is going to, come up on people that is huge is Ryan Simpson. He's like he's like 6'7", 6'6".
Yeah, he's humongous.
Big guy. I think, you can't teach that type of height and length. I think that he could probably have a great year this year, even though, he's a redshirt freshman. He probably might not get the time. I think, if he proves himself in practices, sparingly, if you need a tall guy in the, end zone area where you need to go up and grab one, man, why wouldn't you use that? If you have like a small cornerback, man, use that height. So
yeah, that's a great point right there. And I didn't even think about it like that way. So, like you said, it might be an opportunity right there, just using his height, his size, his reach to that advantage. Funny enough, I don't know, fun fact about me, I'm only 6'4", but my wingspan is 6'9". So I have really, really long arms for whatever reason, kind of like orangutan arms that just hang off your shoulders, man. They kind of hurt carrying these around. But, a guy that size, with that arm length, he's going to make some peace and be able to tower some people,
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just
the length, dude. Like, you know how many strides you're going to have to do to keep up with a guy that has that big of a stride?
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, man. It's going to be awesome to, I'm also excited about Danny Burton. I'm excited for him to get some reps, man.
Yep. Yeah. I believe he's a senior this year. I've heard that he's, put the work in. He's probably going to get something. I think the coaches probably reward those seniors that have been there, that have, know the system a little bit. Yeah. So,
dude, we brought somebody, Gabe Salser.
Yeah, and I have him down. We said him being one of those slot receivers with Kellen White.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because I've heard some guys, and I wanted to get to this last podcast, and I totally forgot. And maybe you can give us some insight, Angel. Coming out of a spring season, this one is kind of unique where they're actually playing 2 games. Mm-hmm. And when you're usually doing a spring practice, you're not really you're gonna have a spring ball where you're going up against each other, but not necessarily 2 games. There's actually some guys hurt. I know that Marcus Knight is hurt. I know a couple different guys are hurt. And I've just heard that on the coaches show. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to get time these first 2 games, because if they're hurt right now, I wouldn't expect them to push to get them out there.
No, and I think that's a great point. And I think listeners need to understand that this is not
final product.
This is not final product.
Yeah.
This is not bring everything and everyone we got out there, to really put them in position to potentially get hurt,
Yeah.
And I think it's a smart bet. It's a safe bet. Let those guys rest. It's really no pressure. I don't think you guys don't get a belt. You guys don't get a ring at the end of it. So it's not necessarily something at the end of it that they're like, okay, we're playing for this. It's really just to kind of gauge, get the temperature, dip your toes in the water and shake off that rust, that's been building up for the past 18 months. Because one, like I told you before in the last podcast, it's just a different environment when you line up against a different person. And when you line up against a different group of guys that are looking to tear your head off, it's different than, your buddy that you're with 24/7 that's on your team. Not to say that they don't go extremely hard, but they're using each other, for practice, for dummy work, for situational. It's not necessarily, hey, I'm trying to tear your head off. So it's a different feel. So I think they don't bring they don't come out guns blazing. I don't think they show certain formations. I don't think they run certain plays. I kind of think that they just hold off on it and get a feel for it and really run some really basic stuff. And when I say basic stuff, as far as the run game, I'm thinking inside zone. I don't think they'll go too much outside. I don't know if they're going to get crazy with the counters and the powers. I think they will do powers, but I don't know necessarily outside of that realm how extensive they're going to get on that side of the ball. And I think they're going to give him a couple deep balls just to get the arm loose, for the quarterback, for Cam, just to give a situational kind of perspective of, okay, this is where we need to improve and get better at and focus on. So it'll be interesting to see, but I don't think this is necessarily balls to the walls. Got to do everything we can to claw our way out of this one.
Well, and they said that, on the coaches show, Coach Houck said, and this is something that I wanted to ask you, how much kind of new, the offensive guys are probably always trying to find something new, add something here, kind of get, something new where the teams that know each other really well are kind of thrown off. And so, they've had this springtime and Coach Houck said, this springtime we really use to try these new things to kind of implement them. And, we kind of get them implemented so that we can try them in the spring game and then really, really fully in the fall, try to get that established. It'll be really interesting to see what type of new things, if any. I personally, I don't think Houck's going to show his cards. I don't think that's who he is. I think he's pretty old school and he's like, I'm not going to show you my cards. I'm not going to give you something where you can use it and you can study it for 6 months and then use it against me.
About it, why would you? Like, what do you necessarily get out of it? What is it going to accomplish? It really is just going to give the teams when we roll around in these next couple of months a leg up. And it's the same thing. So it's just strategy, just as much as it is going out there and really imposing your will. At the same time, there's a lot of strategy that goes into this game. So me as a coach, I would do the same thing. There's no reason to show all those cards. There's no reason to get those players any hurt than they what they already are. Take it easy. Go out there, run basic schemes just to get a feel for the game again, because it's been so long since they've been back from it.
Yep, definitely. Well, it'll be really interesting, Angel, to see. And this is what I'm really excited for. And I'm kind of nerdy like this as well. I like to see guys that haven't played. Maybe not a lot, but they haven't had that role. You see it in basketball a lot too, where it's really evident because you're not having that many guys there, where you're trying to fill a role. And so it'll be really interesting. Samori's gone. Mitch is going to go into a starting role possibly. That's a new role for him. Gabe and Kellen White, that's a new role. Malik, that's a new role. I'm pretty sure that they'll probably, I would hope, have him on punt returns and kick returns still. But, all these guys are going to be in a new role except for Sammy. So it'll be really interesting to see how these players react and how they kind of go into their roles and through these next 2 games.
I'm right now, I think it's a smoother transition than what we think.
Okay.
And simply because they've played the number 2 for such a long time and they've played it so well. So now it's like, okay, just that expectation is one level up,
definitely.
And it just like it's important to be able to have that depth, but it's just as important to be able to have that experience. I was fortunate enough that if I went down, I had 2-3 guys that would be able to replace me on a dime and know exactly what the hell to do. I think it's the same type of situation. They get so much put on them in the sense of, hey, we're going to need you to step up because any moment, Sammy, Samori, Jerry, they're going to need a break. And so because of that, they had to be ready all the time. So that training was just as intense. They train like they had the starting position. That's just kind of the foundation of how they do things there at practice. And so I think it's a smoother transition than what we expect,
Okay. Yeah. I'm just so eager to see that. I'm kind of the nuances that not everyone I think really likes to see, like knows to see. Not everybody looks at the line and studies the line. They follow the ball. And so just the subtleties of the game where people aren't really used to. I think Coach Houck does such a good job of just the small things and preaches such the small things that make up a big game. And so I'm just excited for football, dude. Oh my gosh,
dude, I'm gonna be there. If you guys see me, let's get a beer.
I'm so jealous because I'm not gonna be there, so I'm gonna be watching on TV.
Oh man. I have enough fun for both of us, Adam. Don't worry.
There you go. You have fun for the both of us. I'll probably still drink a beer here, but yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So it'll be interesting, man. But I'm excited for them. I think they have the pieces when we kind of just combined. Since for listeners out there, we kind of reviewed the offensive line last week, reviewed the quarterback position and the running back position last week, and so kind of when you think about the different groups at its core, there is some impressive stuff on all sides of the balls. There's really not a drop off. There's not a lack in necessarily anywhere. And I'm not trying to toot anybody's horn, but it's just I'm excited to see how it meshes together, how they're able to put everything together as far as the timing, as far as the run blocking scheme, the eyes downfield, what's a quarterback play going to look like, how are the receivers going to react, just to kind of put it all together and kind of just let it roll, go out there and play some football. Because at the end of the day, we talk about, well, what about this? What about this? Those kids, and one of the best things that Coach Houck ever told me, just go out there and play. Go out there and have fun. Games were easier to me than practices were, and that's just
I think he does that for a reason, though. I think he does that for a reason.
That last year, I was better conditioned. I was in a better position mentally, physically. I was able to kind of push past some of those uncomfortable moments because of the vigorous training that we did, year in and year out, leading up to those 10 games plus the playoffs. When I was done playing football, when I finished up that quarterfinal game, I went home and I was like, I'm still ready to play physically. A lot of guys will be burnt out and say, I need a break. I need to take a couple of days off. But every guy that I talked to, they're like, no, we can play still. We easily had 2 games left because that's all we had, the semis and the national championship.
Oh, dude.
That
does that. I know this is way off. That game just bothers me. But,
dude. It's just tough,
Yeah,
it was tough because we worked so hard. And the thing is, it's one of those things. I'm sure there's a lot of people. Well, we could have won that game. I mean, but it was down to the wire. It was 10-17, fourth quarter, and it's just for one reason or another, we just weren't able to get the job done, and that's simply it. There's no one to blame. There's no pointing fingers at nobody, and there was a lot of speculation trying to point fingers, in the community, but really, and they'd come up to me and say, "Hey, what happened?" Nothing happened. We lost a football game. It's really hard to win a football game, and the statistics of being a team twice is out of this world.
Well, and especially the way that you guys smacked him around the first time.
Yeah, I mean,
and the weather. The weather played a role in that game. The weather was nasty. The footing was horrible. So and plus, I think you told me this. You guys were still taking. Some people were still taking finals in. Or the night of, or in the
night before.
The night before.
They were getting their crap done.
So,
which was a new experience for a lot of guys because the last time that I went to playoffs was my redshirt freshman year. After that, I didn't see an ounce of playoffs. But let me tell you this: at the end of those 10-game seasons, 10 games, 11 games, I was exhausted. And for one reason or another, like I had told you, and we talked about this when we kind of reviewed, the Big Sky Conference bracket with the young players, that kind of the muscle fatigue really kicked in. I wasn't used to that training. I wasn't used to that type of play. So it took me a while. But at the end of the year, the end of my 4th, 5th year of playing, I was ready. I was conditioned, So it was just one of those things, man. It was really unfortunate. But I think it needed to happen to put the team in a place of hunger for this year, in a place of itching to get back out there, and of, hey, let's go run through a freaking wall because that's what we want to do, not because what we have to do, And I think it's gonna come out, man.
Yeah, well, and this group is so exciting because the depth is everywhere. Wherever you look, you cross your fingers, your toes, everything like that, that no one gets hurt. But they've got guys that can step up and everywhere. So hey, let's go from wide receivers. And one of these things which is really cool, is we're going to go from wide receivers to cornerback. These guys are facing each other all the time in practice. And I think just with the wide receivers we have, it's only going to make an iron sharpens iron. I've probably said it before.
I mean, like you
those
said,
cornerbacks.
We have such a deep core receiver. How could you not get better at the corner position?
Oh yeah.
And that's let's just take out how talented and kind of a deep of a corner kind of position that we have. From some of the transfers, for some of the growth of some of the younger guys that were able to get some playing time last year. On top of playing against Malik Flowers, Mitch Roberts, Gabe Salser, Sammy Camp on a consistent basis. On top of that, having to, run through an offensive line that averages 320 pounds. On top of that, having to run the running back that that Marcus Knight, or get in the rotation, whoever else gets in rotation. There is a lot of obstacles at that corner position to really make it really difficult to not get better. And the coaching style is a huge part of it too. Because it's nitty, it's gritty, it's hard, and they don't care. They're going to keep working and working and working. So I'm excited, and I think not necessarily that I would have any doubts or questions. I'm more anxious and excited to see them finally perform,
Yeah. Well, and that's what's cool about this group is, like you said, we have a lot of transfers. But, the last couple of years, we've had a lot of cornerbacks that were not true cornerbacks. They were wide receivers that transferred into a cornerback role because we didn't have the depth that we needed there. And so this year we actually have cornerbacks that are cornerbacks that have experience there, that have experience at the D1 level in high major conferences. And we have depth upon depth. And so, we lost Darian Nash. I think he transferred to Idaho as a grad assistant, and I believe wasn't Justin Calhoun a part of your senior year?
Graduated
as well.
Graduated with me. Justin Calhoun was a hell of a receiver, man.
Yeah,
he really was, man. But that just goes to show the type of athleticism that he has. I do think that obviously that was not permission, but I think he was a better receiver than he was corner. But I still think he was a phenomenal athlete to be able to make that transition.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even make it from left guard to left tackle without, wanting to quit the whole game entirely and feel like I'm out on an island that I've never done this before. For him to be able to transition like that, man, like think about that. What an athlete. I wish he would have got more of an opportunity to play at the next level, even if they brought him back to the receiver position, because I really think he had an opportunity. One of my favorite memories was a Hail Mary against Eastern Washington, and it was the last play of the half. Do you remember that play?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What a play, man. He just went out there, grabbed it with his mind, and we went into, I think it was just an awesome moment, man. Awesome moment. But kind of going back to the corner position, dude, we have a lot of real talent. Being able to play against that type of talent, it's going to make it hard for opposing teams to really score.
Well, let's go into what we have. So Trajan Cotton, the transfer from Oregon State, who necessarily played kind of more of a safety role with them. But I believe in high school, he did have some experience playing cornerback. Omar Hicksanu, another transfer out of Oregon State. Redshirt senior. Corbin Walker, sophomore this year. Last year, or not last year. I'm saying last year, and it's been like 18 months. In the FCS playoffs, he intercepted and ran back one for a touchdown. I believe as a freshman. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow. Oh, man, I'm going over here getting hyped. How cool is that, dude?
Isn't that crazy as a freshman to intercept a pass, run it back 50 some yards?
Chaos,
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
And then Justin Ford, redshirt junior out of Louisville. And so I don't know, and that's a question I haven't been able to find. He opted out of the spring when we were going to be doing the spring season, but after the spring season was nixed. I wonder if he came back and was a part of the spring ball, or if he's just waiting for, summer camp.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's a great question. I don't know. And, we're kind of reviewing these position groups. I obviously kind of mentioned I'm really excited to see how Keelan plays at the receiver position. I think I'm going to have my eye on him a little more. I don't really know at the corner position who I want to kind of really come out and show out. Yeah. Because I think they're all equally talented in a lot of ways. I think they all, possess their strength. It's going to really be anybody's game on who really wants to show out. But if I'm calling it for whatever reason, I think Justin Ford's going to come out and have a heck of a, kind of a 2-game season to put himself in a position. Because he is playing these 2 games, is he not?
I don't know. I couldn't find that. Because he did opt out of the spring season. I didn't know, I would think after, the news came out that the spring season wasn't going to happen, that he'd probably come back with the group. But, then you have Adjo So. I'm probably saying that wrong, so I'm sorry. Trevin Gradney, and then Ryan Ressler, a walk-on from 2019 redshirt freshman. So you have some really good depth, some older guys, and then you've got some freshmen. I'm really excited about this group because, next year you have Omar Hicks Anu, who's a redshirt senior. But after that, you have Trajan Cotton, sophomore, Corbin Walker, sophomore, Justin Ford, junior. And then you've got these redshirt freshmen and freshmen behind there that you're only going to get better. Yep. And so, man, the depth is only going to get better in this group.
You know what? I will say this just on a random note, and this, I don't know why this came up, but this reminds me of Nate Harris. Do you remember the name?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
2015. I think 2016 as well. You have to have a different type of confidence when you're playing the corner position. That's why you always see, and majority of the times, I see corners, talk more than a lot of people on that field. And I think it's built like that by design. I think a lot of people look at the corner position and are like, okay, well, they're technically speaking the smallest guy on the field as far as size-wise, because they need to be extremely quick and kind of jerky in order to keep up with those receivers. So that's one thing to think about. They're obviously the smaller guys, so maybe in a sense they feel like they get picked on a little more, from the big guys up front. So because of that, I think you have to come at the corner position with a confidence like no other. Yeah. One bad step, you cost yourself 7 points, 6 points for the team. There's a lot of pressure at that position, and this is not to say that they're the most, kind of physical position out in the group, because you can debate that between O-line and D-line all day, but I do think that is a position that you have to come with some type of confidence in, really just a killer instinct and attitude,
Well, and these guys have experience in safeties too, and I think that's a very similar kind of, not similar as in like position group, but the attitude and like the killer mentality. Like if you look at cornerback and safety, they're going for it. They're going for you. They're gonna take off your head, So I totally agree with what you're saying there. So it'll be really interesting to see how these new guys adjust. They've had a longer layoff to adjust and to get ready for the schemes and what they do on defense. But it'll be interesting to see who's made that progression the most, to see who starts and who's going to get that more team one, defensive rep. But man, I can't wait. I can't wait for this. So.
It'll be interesting, man. I'm ready for it to come out. By the way, did you see the video that they just put out?
What's that?
The hype video that Austin put out?
Yeah, that was dope.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. I messaged him after. I was like, dude, that was sweet. He was just like, dude, it was sweet, but it was so damn cold out there.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Yeah. I remember
those new uniforms look awesome.
They're so nice. They're so crazy.
Oh, man. Yeah, it reminds me, because they took those uniforms. They kind of looked at the 2009, I believe, year, and they kind of took some things from there. The 2009 team has a special, place in my heart, just because I was at the App State Montana game, the Blizzard game where I forgot who it was, but he blew up that wide receiver on the sideline. Yeah, just like blew him up, dude. You could hear that in the stands.
Really?
Like it was like loud, and you could hear that. Everyone stopped. Like, oh my gosh, that guy's not getting up,
dude. So, oh my gosh, I watch it on YouTube all the time. It has crazy amounts of clicks, dude.
Oh yeah,
blew up.
Yes, so I have that film as well. I bought it off of the NCAA site, so I could just keep on replaying it. So
that's so crazy, man.
So yeah, that's the cornerback group. I think we're good with cornerbacks. I think we've increased, and this is the crazy thing part is, Angel, is every position group we've gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
How many teams can say at every position group we've gotten better? We've grown, we've gotten more talent, and we're developing.
Exactly.
How many teams, other than probably North Dakota State?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's why I said I'm really proud of where I was able to kind of help leave the team off.
Yeah.
You know, because every other year I was like, yeah, we have some strong points, but we have some weak points. The offensive line is good this year, but they're struggling the next year. You know, this position group needs to pick it up a little bit. This position group is killing it, you know. So, but really, we left it in a place where, hey, just a little bit of experience was added to the depth, you know, of every single position group, and look at them now. You know, they brought in some amazing talent. You know, the places that were potentially questionable in certain areas, you know, that's not even a question anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
you know, this is off topic, but it'll be really interesting that we can get into another episode. But it'll be really interesting because of the pandemic, how that affects recruiting, because you're not able to get a recruit in and you're not able to go see a recruit.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the dynamics with that. And I think that's going to stay for a while, but that's another episode. Sorry, man. Just had to say that.
You're good. You're good.
So, you know, we're going to go from cornerbacks now to the forgotten fellas in the team, the kickers and the punters.
Hey, man, they're people too. Okay. Get that straight. You know, that's one thing that, you know, Tim Semenza, Brandon Purdy, you know, Adam Wilson used to always kind of joke around and say, hey, you know, punters and kickers are people too, man. You can't forget us. You know, and it's kind of interesting, man. You know, I've been around some very different, but punters and kickers are just as passionate about what they do as any other group, maybe potentially even more passionate about it. You know, Tim Semenza was one of the most passionate players that I've been around, simply because he debatably might have taken it, you know, too seriously. You know, a one bad kick would have ruined his whole afternoon because he was that, you know, kind of committed to being better on a day-to-day basis. And so it's kind of interesting to see, because they're just as committed as any other position. You know, obviously when they do have that position, it is a little different just because they're not taking that physical toll, you know, and there might be a lot of standing around, you know, and practicing on their own, but still they take the time just like anybody else to go kick on a day-to-day basis. And on the weekends, in the summertime, they're out there, you know, with other punters and kickers, and, you know, while the receivers are out there. And so they deserve just as much credit as anybody else, man.
Yeah. Well, and just the intensity and the pressure that is put on them in a game. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine. You're like, all right, go kick a field goal. This is to win the game. Everybody's looking at you. Don't miss it, because you'll be blamed no matter what happened in the game. Yeah. And nowadays with certain teams, it's all about field position. When you're talking about, you know, the game of football, it's all about where you're kicking, where you're getting the ball at.
Exactly.
You know, it is a very important part.
Yeah. One time, just reminds me of a random story. When I was in middle school, just because I was a big kid compared to a lot of other kids, you know, for whatever reason, they were like, okay, well, he's Mexican and he's big. He might be able to kick the ball a little better than everybody else. And so they gave me the opportunity to kick the ball. I kicked it one time. They were just like, you know what? We're never going to have you do that again. And so I was like, I remember, because I was just like, I kept telling people, like, yeah, I can kick really good. You know, I grew up playing soccer. That was my first kind of sport that I kind of dabbled in. I was like, I know how to do this. It was a terrible kick. I can only imagine the pressure of being around, you know, dang near 30,000 people. Everybody
Oh,
looks at you, down 4 seconds, field goal for either the tie or for the win,
oh yeah.
And if you see them, it really takes so much mental work to really just take that deep breath. I mean, time and time again, you see them go,
Yep.
because they need that deep breath to understand,
Yeah.
okay, just kick the ball. Just do your job.
Well, and a lot of them, they don't, when they call a timeout, everyone's to one side. They're not even with the team.
Yeah.
Like a lot, like the kickers I've seen, like the great kickers, they're not even with the team. They're doing something. They're going through their heads.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So this year is going to be kind of interesting because with kickers and punters, we're losing pretty much everyone that we've had from kicker and punter. So Brandon Purdy's gone, Adam Wilson's gone, Gabe Peppinger is not there. And so you're going to have somebody new kicking for you, being kicker or place kicker or punter. And so it'll be really interesting to see, is there somebody that can do both? Or is it going to be split up? That's going to be the interesting thing. So just to go into it before we start talking, excuse me, we have Camden Capser, who's coming in the summer from my rival high school, Billings Central. So it was
really a real question. Did you guys win or lose against them?
Well, I can say that when I was there, we lost. But this year, I can say my high school beat Billings Central in the state championship game.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So it's a bitter, huge rivalry, one of the biggest in the state. So then Jack Cooper, who's a redshirt junior transfer, or Jack Cooper, who's a redshirt junior, who's a transfer from Fresno City. He's also played at Mississippi. I do not think he got too much action at Mississippi. That's why he transferred to Fresno City. Then we've got Carver Gilman, who's a redshirt freshman walk-on, and then Brian Buscini, who's a redshirt freshman as well. And so it'll be really interesting to see how Coach Houck kind of goes through that, just because I don't know how he feels with a freshman having that much weight, kicking and punting and stuff like that.
For me, there's two lines of kind of thought when I think about this. One, how his specialty is special teams. That's where he thrives. That's what he's known for. That's where people are, I think, really underrate him, don't take him seriously enough, and that's where he shines arguably the best, when you look at his career. So he knows what he's doing, which is kind of my thought process. And if it really was at a point where I think he wasn't comfortable with what they've had, with the great recruiting that they've done this year, you would have thought, well, maybe let's try to bring somebody else in. So one, I think he trusts them. I think he's anxious to see how they perform, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to really decide. Because let's say worst case scenario, because I know we got some ballers on there. I know we got some people that are going to step up. But worst case scenario, something bad happens. It's not their best day, and he's like, okay, I need to go find somebody else. He has a couple months to be able to do that, So that opportunity is still there to recruit. But what I'm thinking in his mind, is, hey, I'm going to give them a shot to really see where we're struggling or what we're good at, and see if somebody can come out and take the position. That's kind of his whole mentality. Go out and take the position, own the position. This is yours.
My dog is like tearing up this door.
Got to do what you got to do, man. So for listeners out there, like I was saying, I think that opportunity is there for those guys. I think they're going to show out. I think they're going to play well. And I really think it's just going to kind of be one of those things where they kind of sit down and assess the situation and say, this was good, this was bad, this is where we need to get better, and where do we go from here?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
That'll be edited out just for people that know. My dog was like tearing apart the door, oh my gosh.
You just sit in anxiety how watching it happen. Like,
no, I'm like, don't want to interrupt. I don't want to leave the live screen, but I'm like, Oh, dude, she's gonna tear apart that door, and I really don't want to replace a door.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I really truly think that you're gonna probably see, like you said, some freshmen step up. And Brian Buschini and Camden Capser are very highly rated kickers. And if you look at Camden Capser, he has the state record for most points scored by a kicker and most PATs with I believe 85 straight PATs made. So there is some guys that have some experience with that. They're not, in-game experience with pressure, at Griz. But, with this year, this is probably the best time to do it. Like you were saying, that you've got 2 games to throw them in there. Then you can study the film and go over, their summer and your fall camp and say, hey, this is open, guys. This is something that we're not solidified yet. Let's go. And I think he likes that. He likes to see those battles. He likes to see those guys compete and see what they can do, because when you're competing for something and you want it, you're going to see the best from everybody. You're going to get the best from everybody. And so I think you're really going to see some guys step up, like you said. And I truly believe, really 100% agree with you that Houck is not going to let his bread and butter be stinky onions.
No, exactly.
So I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it'll turn out well, and I think he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Well, he knows a whole lot better than me, so I know that for a fact.
Like I told you, Adam, I don't know nothing about nothing. Even to this day, people think I have some sort of leg up on them because I used to play football. I don't know anything about what they're doing. Like I say hello to them. I stay away from the football talk just because I'm like interested in other things. And it's just kind of like, hey, I'm just fortunate enough that I have these relationships with these guys while they're still playing. And so it's just kind of like, man, I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm like you guys. I'm just a huge fan. I'm a huge advocate for all of those young men. I'm a huge advocate of the coaches, and I'm just excited to see what they get done this week.
Yep. Central Washington, man. Central Washington.
They don't have no idea. They have no idea what they're coming into, man.
Well, and I from glances, what I've looked at, they've got some experience, and I think they made the playoffs or whatnot. So I do think they've got some experience. I don't think they have and it's kind of interesting because they were supposed to play Central Washington this year. So this game was kind of slid over. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I know that Central Washington is from the GNAC, Great Northwestern Athletic Association. I know that because I went to MSUB in Billings, and so they're the part of the same conference. But I think that it'll be a good game, a good first game, and then that second week you got Portland State.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for both teams. Just kind of thinking about it, just a little bit shaking off the dust. I think there's going to be positives and negatives to take away from both teams. I think they're both going to walk away from a clear perspective of, okay, we need to improve here. We need to get better here. It wasn't as great here and a little sloppy here. And really, so I think it'll be good for both teams. The only thing that I pray for, and I used to pray for this all the time, that no one gets hurt, that it's a safe game, that they end off the game, in good spirits, and they walk up the field knowing that, hey, they give it their all. One of the things that I used to always think, I was just like, I never want to lose to a team because we weren't ready. If I lose to somebody, I want to say that I lost because they were better than us. Because we played our butts off, and at the end of it, we just didn't come out on top.
Exactly.
So that's what I hope for this game, man.
It'll be interesting to see. Have you checked the weather and what the weather is going to be like?
Dude, I know it's supposed to be cold and kind of rainy these first couple of days, but I think game day is going to be actually kind of nice, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, never mind. 39 and cloudy.
39 and cloudy?
I don't know if it just says cloudy. It doesn't say rain or snow, but you never know. It's going to be the coldest day this whole week for sure.
Oh, it's gonna snow. It's gonna snow.
It snows on Thursday. It snows on Thursday.
It snows tomorrow here.
Oh, does it
It
really?
snows tomorrow. There's a 100% chance. I don't even know how can you say that it's 100% chance? Like, I'm not a weather person, but how in the world can you for sure say it's 100% chance of snowing?
Dude,
Like that, I don't know. I don't know if that's just the nerd in me, but I'm like, how? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I hate snow. It's my birthday. I don't want it to freaking snow on my birthday, dude.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it's rough.
But,
It'll be fun regardless, though.
You know, one thing that I would like to kind of throw out there, I'd like to let's see if I can do this. I'm doing something crazy. Let's see. Oh, no, that didn't work. That didn't work. Oh well. I'll have to read up on it. I was gonna try to show people the poll that we had out there. We had what position group are you most excited for? And tell us why. You know, we had QB, which was 34% people were excited for. Running back, they were 4.5%. Quarterback, 22.7%. You're gonna be happy with this one. 38.6%. The winner, offensive line, buddy.
There you go, baby.
More people. More people are excited to see those big guys.
Sleeves, dude. That's why I have none of my shirts have sleeves. None of them. Zero.
And one of the comments was #Dola.
There you go, man. Whoever said that, shout out to them, dude. That's sweet, dude.
So, yeah, shout out to those people that actually, commented, that voted for that. We really appreciate it. We love having you interact with us. And like we said, this is a live casting. So if you want to get a hold of us while we're doing this, you can actually leave us a comment. We would love to give a shout out to you. Say what your question is. Say what your comment is. We would love to have you be a participant in this episode, these live recordings. Like we said, man. What's that?
I said, hit us up. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys like, what you don't like, what you're curious about. Hit us up with topics. It doesn't have to be football related, but it could be something tied to football. It could be something tied to a different sport, something you want to hear about more often. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Exactly. Well, that's going to probably end our wide receivers, cornerbacks, kickers, and punters preview. We are going to have a preview with defensive line, linebackers, and safeties coming out. It'll be here Thursday. We're going to record Thursday. So those people that are watching us, come on back. We're going to be there. These probably won't. We'll talk more about it later, but we'll talk about when these are coming out. We've had one come out today with running backs and quarterbacks. And so subscribe, rate, review, and make sure that you check us out. Like Angel and I have said, we want to hear from you guys. Get us at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Fight on Montana. We want to hear from you. Give us those 5 stars. Get us on our YouTube channel at Fight on Montana as well. And we love to hear from you. Say hi to Angel at the game, and I'll be sitting on my my couch yelling and screaming.
Fight on, baby.
All right.